I think that's where self-esteem comes from. It doesn't come from being told you're great, all the praise, all those things. That's not where it comes from. It comes from feeling valued, feeling like you actually are good company. The road to success is paved with failures. I would rather my kids try and fail and learn than never try anything, because get out there, give it a go. So what if you hate it? So what if you make a fool out of yourself? We'll laugh at it and we'll move on. Lesson learned. There's no shame in failing. There's only shame in not trying. Welcome to the Bratbusters Parenting Podcast. My name's Lisa Bunnage. I'm a parenting coach. I'm a mom. I'm also a grandmother.
And I'm Amy Bunnage, Lisa's daughter, and I handle the marketing and planning here at Bratbusters. While I don't have kids, each episode will dive into parenting topics and Lisa will answer your questions. Let's get started.
Welcome to another podcast of Bratbusters Parenting. I'm Lisa, and my daughter Amy is also with me. She's the one who runs the show. I never know what's coming up. So what's coming up, sweetie?
So today's topic is transforming your kid's behavior and the idea that it starts with you.
Oh. It's kind of a broad subject.
It is, but it's broad questions. And
Okay.
I think it's an important topic because I do think that sometimes people are coming to these episodes maybe not hearing your past material.
Oh, okay. So it starts with you. The whole idea is I teach parenting. We don't fix kids here. We fix and teach parents. And the reason is that you are a leader. When you become a good leader, they will follow you. That's what you want. They need a guide. Children, and people often say, but I don't want that. I want them to be free thinking. Yes, they're still going to have their own opinions, but they do need guidance. They're children. They're innocent little babes. They need someone to look up to and to guide them into making good choices. Not to tell them what to do, but to guide them into making good choices. God, that was broad, wasn't it?
No, I think that was a good start. Now, what does this look like with the toddler years?
The toddler years... Hang on, just buckle up. Yeah, they're just nuts. Toddlers are cute as a button. They're all feet, no brains. They're just forming. They're in the discovery phase. Don't overthink it. Don't try and figure them out. They're not figure-outable. Okay, they're just forming. They've got one marble and some tumbleweed upstairs. And like I said, they're just forming. So people often say, well, they just don't make any sense. They haven't developed sense yet. They're just developing it. So don't expect too much. Oftentimes parents will say to me, I told him that when he hits me, it hurts my feelings. He even saw me cry and he cried too and he's sorry, mommy. And then he hit me again. I'm like, what's your point? He's 2. What's your point? You use the mini therapy sessions discussing all your big feelings and your big emotions and his big it's garbage. They're about actions. You use consistent corrective action with toddlers. Eventually they'll learn and they'll respect you for it. Not right away. Not till they're about 3. The common sense starts to kick in at around 3.
Okay. Maybe we'll get into the questions and I'm sure things will come out in this episode.
Oh, I'm sure.
Okay. The first one is Brooklyn from the United S.
Okay. How are we going to beat this? Like, it's like a dead horse at this point. We keep beating this joke to death.
Yeah.
The joke is that she was reading off questions, and this was a few weeks ago, and lots of people have commented on this. Like, it's funny. She said, oh, they're from the United K. She meant the United Kingdom. Okay. Now we're using the United S instead of the United States.
So I'm not. It's that now whenever people submit questions, they're not as their country. They're putting United S. There was a winky face there. So
Oh, I know. It's cute.
Okay, so this will be the last time I mention it, but I do get a chuckle every time I see it.
It won't be the last time, by the way.
Probably not.
It'll come up.
Okay. So Brooklyn, I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. This is more of a philosophical question. Past the toddler stage, do you think that any child can be an easy child, like your 2 kids, if they have a leader parent? A lot of people I talk to make it sound like it's luck of the draw when it comes to a kid's behavior because they claim that certain annoying, unpleasant, or rude traits are unchangeable due to their child's personality. Now, I know that some kids have special needs. Those aren't the kids I'm talking about there. After learning your methods, I'm convinced that most kids could become delightful most of the time. Children can be chiseled like a sculpture by a leader who guides them into good behavior. Am I simplifying things too much, or am I being naive? Thank you.
God, I love philosophical questions. Love them. Okay, so I don't talk about chiseling children, but yeah, that's what you're doing. It's exactly what you're doing. They're going to have their own personality traits, but their social and behavioral skills are 100% a direct result of you. How do I know this? I've worked with hundreds of kids, toddlers, up to teenagers, and I never worked with an easy kid. Not once, not ever did anyone hand me a kid and say, oh, this is an easy one. They all said, oh, good luck with this one. They were all challenging behaviorally challenged children. So I got respect with all of them. Was it me or was it them? Was it the leader? Or was it the kid? I do believe they can all be, well, quote, easy. What I mean by that is not defiant. They're not going to get into trouble, really. Like my kids were they made good choices because they knew if they didn't, I'd come in and say, well, let's figure this out here. Here's a consequence. But yeah, I do believe, I totally agree with you that they can be chiseled. I love that.
You know, it's funny. We were just before this episode talking about how you want to explain more broader topics like that, really dive into it.
Well, do you know what I want? I was just talking about my business and where I want to go with it. I want to be challenged more. I want to go up against heavies in the parenting world, and I want to be challenged. And I don't want to challenge their methods so much. I don't want to insult anyone else, but I want people like the real heavies in the parenting world, in the child. I want to be challenged by them. I want them to ask me, or actually say that's impossible. That excites me is when people come up and a lot of my clients are child psychologists, teachers, principals. They don't tend to challenge me because they've already bought into what I'm saying. But I want to be challenged against this because I think people are understanding kids wrong. I really do. They talk about self-esteem. oh God, it's so interesting. Should I get into this?
I definitely think so.
Okay. There's this woman, what's her name? Carol Dweck. I think she's some big, I don't know, she works at Yale or something. She's a very intelligent doctor. And she was saying that the 90s were the self-esteem era with children and with people trying to build up their self-esteem. It ruined people. They became masters of mediocrity because you're always telling them they're absolutely great, which does two things. They know they're not great, and also they feel they have to be. They know they're not great at everything, but you're praising everything they do. Oh, you brushed your teeth like a pro. You're the best toothbrusher. All that pleaser parent style, that's when it came in. And I remember seeing that come in. And I didn't know it was called the self-esteem era, like she calls it. I saw that coming. And it's when the participation awards came in too. It's a total disaster. I think that children know when they're doing something good and they know when they're not. Okay. I praise my kids when they did something I thought was great. It's usually behavioral, how they treated people. So I praised that, but I didn't praise them for everything. They knew that they were absolutely treasured and loved unconditionally, but they also knew it was okay to not be perfect. I didn't think they had to be great at everything. I didn't build them up with all this false idea of themselves because it raises self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues, because eventually reality will kick in and the rest of the world's going to stop telling them they're not great at everything. You're setting them up for failure. So I think that's the big disaster that's happening with kids these days. You're setting your children up for failure. You're not raising strong, independent adults who can think for themselves, and they respect themselves and they respect others. That's what I teach. God, I want to be challenged on this. Ooh, I scared myself. What are you looking at? She's looking at me like, ooh, Mom, calm down.
No, it's good. And I think it's a lot to wrap your head around, because I do think that people are going in, and I think that most parents are probably going with the intention of raising I think that they're doing the best that they can.
Well, of course they are. All my clients are doing the best they know how. And then they say, Lisa, I realize I've messed up my kids. I said, no. I said, let it go. You did the best you knew how. Every single parent who's handed their baby in a hospital doesn't go, oh, I'm going to mess you up. They all go, I'm going to be the best parent in the world. I'm going to love you. But then, of course, the kids start pushing them and they just don't know what to do. There's so much false crap information out there. It drives me freaking insane. It's said by people who really don't understand and respect children. It's all this mini therapy session garbage when they're having a tantrum. All that crap I hate so much. Fun is their love language. They want you to enjoy them and have fun with them. That builds their self-esteem. That is how you make them feel good about themselves. You deal with bad behavior fast, get it over with, don't talk about it, and then bond and connect with children. That is what I do. Why am I mad?
I don't know. All I'm thinking is, because I edit these podcasts, I'm just like, oh, the audio leveling I'm going to have to do on this one.
I know. I'm just so passionate about this because there's so much crap out there that's wrecking kids. It drives me nuts. It's not the parents' fault at all. It's the misinformation out there. It's the professionals spreading all this garbage, all this propaganda about how to build kids up by protecting them from everything. And then, you know what? It's interesting because these pleaser parent style that's out there, they're the most likely ones to yell at their kids. Because it tanks. It doesn't work. It's useless. So they're the most likely ones to start yelling at their kids, and everything just goes messed up.
And you're not speaking about like one specific
No, not
style?
at all. There's
'Cause
a whole umbrella. Well, I don't know any parenting methods out there. I'm very careful about that. I stay out of that. There's the opposing parenting styles. The old-fashioned authority, not a bad way to parent, but they will rebel in the teen years if they have that in them. Okay. Then there's the pleaser parent style, which the whole pendulum swung the other way. Oh, heaven forbid we should look at our children the wrong way. So then they go out in the real world. They can't function because you've never looked at them the wrong way, but you've yelled at them. Okay. So it's just this dichotomy. It's really weird. And so the pendulum swung the other way. You're trying to please them, trying to make everything easy for them, trying to roll out the red carpet for them. You're not preparing them for life. It's not realistic. Also, because your kids are so out of control, you're less likely to play with them and have fun with them. It's a disaster. It's an absolute disaster. The leader style, which is what I teach, you are friends with your kids, but boy, they step a toe out of line. You're right there to say, tell you what, that wasn't great. Here's your consequence. Now let's go back to the park. You're teaching them to make good choices. You're not teaching them to listen to you. They don't talk like that. That's the dictator, the authority. You're teaching them to make good choices. You want them to be independent, free-thinking, strong individuals.
Okay, let's get into this because you were talking about how you want to challenge. So I will, I obviously, like, I read the comments, like I see a lot of the comments that you get. So some comments will say that, so I'm a millennial personally, I'm 30, and a lot of the comments will speak to the idea that our parents, millennials, raised us with the authority method, and that's why we need to lean more hard into maybe the methods that you're saying.
Why? What's wrong with the authority? You're trying to fix something that wasn't really broken. It's not bad. I don't teach that. It's not bad, but it's like they treat it like it was just a disaster. I don't quite understand that.
I think they're saying that there's a lot of, I think a lot of people feel like they didn't love the way that they were parented, and so they're trying to do it differently. I think that that's where it comes from. If I'm reading the comments correctly, like that's, and again, this isn't all the comments, but this is a common theme that I see online, is that we're trying to make our kids better.
Okay, I was raised, pardon me, I was raised in the 60s. I was born 1960. And my parents were unusual. My mother, they listened to me. Yeah, I felt very heard, but I knew my friends didn't. So I do agree there was a bit of a lag there in communication. Plus, I was friends with my mom for sure, but that was unusual. I had an unusual relationship with my mother for the time. And, but I do think that they wanted to feel more heard, definitely. And that's where the pleaser parent came in. Did you feel heard?
I did. And so that's what, like, obviously, like, I'm just speaking to the comments there. I can say that the way I was raised personally, like, this is just how I feel, is I think that when I one day am lucky enough to have kids, I think that I will raise my kids very similar. I think obviously I'm not as goofy as you, so I think there will be differences in that way.
Nobody is.
But I think that it will be similar because I felt like there were rules, there was structure, but I felt incredibly heard growing up.
Absolutely. And I think that's where it swung. They wanted the kids to feel heard and feel good about themselves because maybe they didn't. I felt great about myself. My mom was very good at all that. But she didn't praise everything I did. She just made me feel like my company was valued. I felt valued when I was talking to her. And I think that's where self-esteem comes from. It doesn't come from being told you're great, all the praise, all those things. That's not where it comes from. It comes from feeling valued, feeling like you actually are good company. I wallowed in my kids. I loved playing with them, and they knew that. Believe me, they knew that. I remember a couple months ago, I started saying to my daughter, did you know you were Yeah, I knew you wallowed in us. Yeah, I knew that. Like, they absolutely knew that. That is where high self-esteem comes from being enjoyed. But when they're acting out, it's really hard to enjoy them. So I didn't put up with any bad behavior. I dealt with all that when they were tiny. But I get that. I get where the pleaser parent style, just got misdirected. They swung too far the other way. That's the problem with it. It went loopy. It just went nuts. Ugh. I should shut up because I can feel another rant coming on. Just let's go to a question.
I think the rants are okay. I think 50% of the rants are okay. The other 50% get canned, and you never see them.
Wait a minute. Do you edit these? I never listen to a podcast.
No, I don't.
You don't? Oh, okay.
No.
You let it all fly. Okay, good.
No.
Well,
there's been one or two times where I'm like, oh, I just cut that out, but it's never been anything that you've said specifically.
Of course it would be. It wouldn't be anything you said. You're always so tactful. I'm the one with no tact. I don't have a filter. I just let it fly. My daughter, Amy, is very tactful. She's very cautious, very kind. She always thinks before she speaks. She did not get that from me.
Even this episode, I've spoken so much that now I'm like, oh, geez, what have I said?
Yeah, she's already worried about saying the wrong thing. It doesn't bother me because I figure, and here's the thing, I don't worry about saying the wrong thing. This is not so much with parenting, but I also taught my kids this. I don't worry about saying the wrong thing so much because nobody's better than I am, and I'm not better than anybody else. So if anyone's judging me, I don't care. You're no better than I am. Like I don't feel that way. If someone's judging me, I think, well, what are you hiding in your closet? So judgment comes from low self-esteem, right? So it just doesn't bother me because we're all imperfect, all of us. I don't mind showing it. I don't mind exposing my flaws.
We're going off on tangents, but I think this is actually a really good time to bring up because we never talk about this, is the idea of, you taught me about the idea of other people judging me when I was little. And I remember this because like I do tend to be a little bit more, what's the word? I don't know,
reserved.
And I remember thinking, people are judging me. And you said, Amy, no one cares. Like,
how self-absorbed are you
Exactly.
that you think people are watching you? I'll tell you what, I used to, I can walk into a room and own it. I don't care what anyone thinks about me. I always think, I hope I like someone in here because I figure it's going to be mutual anyway. If people hate me, it's probably mutual. You know how you just connect with some people, you don't connect with others? I remember years ago, I used to teach aerobics and people would say, oh, I could never turn up to aerobics because I'm not fit enough. And they said, I'm just so intimidated by all you fit people up in the front row. And I said, are you insane? Do you know what those fit people are doing? They're looking at themselves in the mirror. They could care less about you. It amazes me that you've got such a high opinion of yourself that you think everyone's looking at you. When I don't think anyone's looking at me. When I walk into a room, I own it because I'm going to work it. I'm going to earn friends and I'm going to work it. I don't expect to get that attention. Do you get where I'm coming from with this? And I told you, you got to earn. At home, you are wallowed in. It's unconditional love. When you go out in the world, you got to earn it. You got to prove yourself out there in the world. No one's looking at you. They're all looking at themselves and worrying about themselves. So yeah, but I thought that was funny that people would be insecure about turning up to a fitness class. When I was overweight after I had you, I gained a lot of weight after her, and I was very heavy. And so I went in right in the front row. Within 6 months, I dropped all the weight, and I was like, it didn't bother me at all. I thought, get out of my way. I need it more than you do anyways.
Well, I just think that it was a good lesson for me growing up that it just kind of like, it took off the ease. It made it easier to go into situations knowing that no one's really
They're all thinking about themselves. Yeah. They're all thinking, what do people think of me? What do people think of me? Right? They're not looking at you.
So growing up, that was a lesson that I took and I really liked it.
Yeah, it's a good one. So I teach that to kids too. Whenever they say, oh, I could never go there. I said, if you walk into a room and people are looking at you, they're just thinking what they're usually thinking is, what are they going to think about me? Everyone's always looking in the mirror. It's just the way it is. So don't worry about it. Go out there, enjoy your life, do whatever you want. No one's looking at you. They're looking at themselves. And you got to earn it. If they are looking at you, you want to earn that. Like I like to talk to people. I like to be the center of attention if I'm saying something funny. I do like that, but I expect to earn that. Like I work for that. And sometimes it's a bomb. Sometimes people go, gee, she's boring. And then I walk away thinking, oh, I got to come up with better material.
Okay. Maybe we'll get into the next question.
Oh, yes. Okay, let's go.
Okay. Jenny from the United States. My son is 3.5 and started having crazy tantrums. He screams, hits, kicks, and nothing we say helps. We've been holding him in a big hug to stop him from hitting us, but that's starting to not work, and it's up to 5 to 10 minutes of holding him, and then we let him go, and he is still in the tantrum. Nothing but time or him hurting himself on accident by hitting something he shouldn't have, where he wants a hug because he's hurt after fixes it. Sorry, that part didn't.
Okay. I kind of get what they're saying. Go on.
One last sentence. So we obviously do not want him to hurt, and we don't think timeout works, but we are running out of ideas.
Okay, I hate timeout. He's 3.5 and he's just started having tantrums, or he's having bigger ones?
Just said started.
Just started. Wow. That's unusual that he just started having tantrums. Now, When they turn 3, that's the fork in the road. They stop and think, wait, are you in charge or are you not in charge? In other words, if they are so inclined, they will take over. So he's basically trying to take over is what I'm guessing, unless something has happened that you don't know about. Could something have happened at school? Don't freak out. It might not be anything huge, just something that threw him off. That's another possibility. If you give him a full body hug while he's having a tantrum to prevent him from injury, you are not allowing any of the energy to come out physically. I would just hold his arms, and I hold him from behind his lower arms, just below the elbow. And I hold him sort of like that, or you could hold him at the upper part of his arm too a little bit. But I like to hold them down. I like them to be able to squirm and wiggle and kick. But if you're holding them off to the side that way, although he's 3.5, you should be able to do that. You're holding them sort of off to the side. You're both facing forward. It's harder for them to hit, kick, and bite in that position. A full body hug is sending the wrong message. You're not allowing him to get any physical energy out. And it looks like you're trying to control him too much. And then I think they said then he wants a hug afterwards. Any hug around a tantrum is not love. It's validating the tantrum. A tantrum is a loss of emotional control at not getting their own way. It's based in anger. It's not based in big emotions, big feelings. It's just anger. You do not need to validate that. Let them work it out themselves by completely ignoring a tantrum, restraining, as I just previously said, when necessary, then let go, let them start to get up, and then grab them again. You don't hold on to him the whole tantrum. You hold on to him, restrain him for a bit, and then when you see he's going to hurt himself or hurt someone else or damage property, then you grab him again for another minute or so, then let go again. And don't look at him or talk to him the whole time. And then when he's finally finished having the tantrum, you say, oh, you all done? Do you want to go read a book? I need a hug. You're all right. Pat him on the back. That is not the time to condone or console. It's feeding the tantrum. You're sort of almost making it look like, oh, I feel so bad about that tantrum. No, you don't. No, you don't. It's his business, not yours. He's got to learn how to address the word no. Like, in other words, accept the word no. He's probably mad because you said no to something. So that's my guess. There could be something else going on. If it's more complicated, you might want to hire me and I could figure it out. I'm just guessing that you said no to something and then he had a fit. But yeah, he's exercising his control because you're not a leader. It's a tell, means you're not a leader.
Okay. We'll go on to the next question. So Yuka from Japan. My son is 3 years old. I do not think we do a whole lot of screen time, but we put YouTube on TV before lunch and dinner while we need to prep. Although it's the same schedule every day, he still asks many times to watch when it's not screen time, and answer is always no, but he won't give up. These repetitive requests happen for other things too, like wanting a snack. I tell him no, and then he asks 5 minutes later, and on and on. I give him the healthier option, then he'll eat that, and then he asks for a snack again. How can I explain to him in a way that he understands that just because he asks 100 times, it doesn't mean the answer is going to change? I don't give in 99% of the time.
You've already answered that. You can't give in ever. He's learned, they only do that. Like if my kids had said, can I please have something? If I said no, they would never, ever have asked again. I would have looked at them like, what? Doesn't make any sense. I already said no. So it's a tell. It means that you do give in sometimes. You can't give in 99% of the time. No, you can't not give in 99% of the time. You have to not give in 100% of the time. Consistency is key with that. Also, you said he'll ask for a snack. No, he'll ask again and again and again. Okay, then you give him a healthy snack. He figures if you're going to give in that much, you give him an inch, he thinks he can get a mile. Okay, if I keep bugging them, they'll give me whatever I want. So you're proven that he's in charge. He knows it. That's all it is. He's in charge because you're not consistent. He knows he can win. Not every time, but he knows if he keeps pushing, he's got a chance of winning. My kids knew, or any kid I worked with knew there was no chance. Once I said no, I was like, I already said no. Like you can keep asking. It's not going to be answered.
A little nuance is you were always fair and reasonable, though.
Always. Like I wouldn't say, what do you mean? Like, well, yeah, I was, but give me a specific example where you're going with this.
It was never about needs.
Never.
It was always about wants.
Yeah, if you want, like, oh yeah, it was just never about needs. I mean, if they needed food or shelter or hugs or love or whatever, or fun or play, I was usually, very good with all their needs. But yeah, if it was just something ridiculous, like they wanted a chocolate bar at the checkout at a supermarket, are you freaking kidding me?
I just wanted to add in that little.
Yeah, it was always over the stuff and they knew that they knew they shouldn't have it. Because if you say no 99 times out of 100, they know that they shouldn't be asking for it and they keep doing it. So they already know the answer. They just know it might be changed by you because you're not consistent. People will say that. Well, I'm usually consistent. That isn't consistent. That's the opposite of consistent. That's inconsistent. Consistent is 100%. Kids remember the time you mess up, not the times you do it right. Guaranteed. It's like my son, I don't remember how old he was, 18 or 20 or something. And we were just in this giggle fit. We were laughing at all the stupid things I've done, usually around cooking. God, I've made some whopper horrible dinners. Anyway, I hate cooking. Anyway, I cook with hate. I hate it. So anyway, so we were laughing at all the dumb things I've done. And then I said to him, well, as a mother, what have I done that's good? And he went, what? Very funny. But it was sort of like they do remember all the dumb things you've done, all the times you've messed up. So yeah, think about that. He doesn't care about the 99 times you got it right. He cares about the one time you didn't. That's all he's paying attention to. Guaranteed.
Okay. The next question is Brooke from the United States. So 1, 3, and 8-year-old. 3-year-old is a spirited child and requires a lot of attention and patience. 8-year-old was an easy child, very kind and polite. All of a sudden, he started to bring up a lot from the past when he gets in trouble. He'll bring up other things that have nothing to do with what is going on. He seems to spiral and then begin to cry. How do I help him pull himself out of bringing up things that have happened and focus on now and help him gain confidence?
I can't answer that because I don't know what things he's bringing up. Did she say any? Oh, shoot. Whenever I'm stumped like this, I'll invent a scenario. Let's say it's something you did wrong. Let's say, what's a good example of that? Something that he's mad that you did. You promised him something and then you never did it. It's a false promise. You promised him. Remember that time you told me that we were going to go there and we never went there and, whatever. So something like that. He keeps bringing it up. I would say to him, let's say I had messed up and that's what he keeps bringing up. Usually that's what they'll do. If they're so inclined, then I would say, okay, I did mess up. How can we make this right? What do you want from me? I would bring him in on it. What can we got to fix this. Let's fix it. I'm not going to listen to this the rest of your life or the rest of my life. Tell me, how can we fix this? Make him the problem solver. I for sure would have done that with a kid. Okay, I did mess up. What do you want from me? Let's start the negotiations. He's 8 years old. You can do that. He's only spiraling because you're not a leader. He doesn't feel justified. He doesn't feel heard, I'm guessing. Or you're so guilt-ridden that he knows if he keeps bringing it up, you'll do something, give him a treat. That's the other side of the coin. I don't know which one it is.
Something I want to note is at the very beginning, it said 3-year-old is a spirited child and requires a lot of attention and patience. Could this be impacting?
Yeah, I heard that. Potentially, but why is he bringing up stuff? I could see them acting up, but why is he bringing up stuff from the past? That's what doesn't quite add up to me. If it's just the fact that all the attention's going to the 3-year-old, they just act out. She specifically said bringing things up from the past. It's usually stuff you've done wrong, and they're trying to guilt you. So it could be that.
It says when he gets in trouble.
When the 8-year-old gets in trouble?
So it says he brings up stuff from the past when he gets in trouble.
Okay, so if he is acting out because his younger brothers or younger sister or whatever is getting too much attention, he wouldn't necessarily be bringing stuff up from the past. I mean, he still could be doing it to get attention, but there's got to be a payoff. Why is he doing it? I don't know. We might have to end there because I kind of feel like I need to know more about that. Like, what's he bringing up? That's what I would want to know. And did you really mess up? Have you made amends? If you haven't made amends yet, make amends and then say, shut it down. I won't be discussing this again. It's all over. Here's our deal. Here's what I'll do for you. I'll take you to the arcade for 2 hours and then never talk about that again. That's the deal. Unless it was something horrible that needs therapy. That's different, but you know what I'm saying. Okay.
Okay, the next question is Michelle from the United States. With leadership parenting, is there ever such a thing as a perfect child, 7-year-old boy, 5-year-old girl, and 3-year-old girl? Will they still mess up or will they test the waters?
What an interesting question. I hate the word perfect. Nobody's perfect. What are you looking for here? I would call my kids pretty agreeable and easy to be around. Were they perfect? No. But was I perfect? No. But we treated each other pretty darn well. There you go. That's what I consider, if you're looking for perfect, I would say, how do you treat each other? I think we all got along pretty freaking good.
I think a lot of people use the word perfect in like a really positive tone, but like you never used that word in a positive way.
No, perfect. What the heck's that? You mean enjoyable, loving, respectful? Yeah. Perfect? What's that?
It's expecting your kids to not be
Well,
Okay, again, this is just my opinion. Um, I would assume that's expecting your kids to not make mistakes, and you never held me up to that standard.
that's
I think that would
ridiculous.
put so much pressure on me.
That is absolutely stupid. How on earth are you going to reach success in your life without failures? The road to success is paved with failures. I would rather my kids try and fail and learn than never try anything. Because get out there, give it a go. So what if you hate it? So what if you make a fool out of yourself? We'll laugh at it and we'll move on. Lesson learned. You've just grown. That's that growth mindset. And I think most people who aim for perfection have a fixed mindset. It means they just have this little box that they put themselves and everybody else into, and they're not usually very interesting people. It's the growth mindset people. They're the ones who throw themselves out there. They take risks. They might say the wrong thing sometimes. Those are the people I find more interesting. The growth mindset. You're always trying to grow and learn and be better, be happier, be fitter, be funnier. You're always trying to improve yourself, but you still like who you are anyway. I never told my kids to be perfect. What a stupid thing to say to a child. It's setting them up for failure, setting them up for low self-esteem. I praise them for throwing themselves out there and trying.
Ooh, let's get into that because you talk about praise. How is that different?
Very good. Oh, very good. Praise is when you say, you're beautiful, you're special. But if they throw themselves out there, I'd say, oh, good for you. Way to go. I admire that. See, I do praise. And I say there's nothing wrong with praise, but it's used in the wrong context. You're always praising them, trying to build their self-esteem. That doesn't. Them getting themselves out there and doing things is what increases their self-esteem. I just happen to condone it and praise it afterwards, but that's not what built their self-esteem. Plus, remember, they are kids. They are looking to you for guidance. So let's say my kids tried something and failed. They're going to look to me to see, was that good or bad? So I would say, yeah, what you did was really bad. It was horrible. You completely failed, but it was good that you tried. And then we'd laugh it off. There's no shame in failing. There's only shame in not trying. It's like, what do they say? The key is to not get rid of your fears. The key is to face them and try anyway. It's like, so you're not overcoming a phobia or a fear so much as you're throwing yourself into it to prove it can't kill you anyway. Like a fear of flying, they make you fly, right? You get right into it. So I really encourage my kids to just get out there. And then I messed up too. I'd try something. I go, gee, remember the time I tried to dance? I went to my daughter's dance school, and the owner of the school, her name was Anita, was it? Just a doll, really sweet, sweet lady. And so I thought, well, I'll take a dance class too. It was jazz. And she knew I'm very self-deprecating. I laugh at myself all the time. God knows I got enough material. Anyway, so I thought, well, I'll try it too. It looks easy. I used to teach aerobics. So I thought, dance, what's the difference? She did this little routine, and it was a beginner's jazz class. She did this little routine, and then we were supposed to copy it. And there was only like 4 or 5 of us in the class. And I went out and invested in jazz shoes and everything. Anyway, we did this routine. Now, I kind of looked like an elephant having a seizure when I did it. It was unbelievable. I caught myself in the mirror and I thought, what? She stopped the class. She looked at me and she goes, Lisa, what was that? It was so bad. It was hilarious. But I was proud of the fact I went out and I tried. So I saw that as a win. I know that sounds crazy, but the whole class laughed. And I always want to be funny. So to me, that was a win. The fact that I was so awful at dance was not a failure. It was it was almost like a win because I was so bad at it. And I still had the balls to turn up. Turns out the other dancers already had some practice. They already kind of knew what they were doing. I was the only brand new dancer. It was bad. But now, was that a failure or a success? To me, it was a success. I failed beautifully.
I agree. I do lots of things that I'm not good at. And I think that you definitely taught me that that's okay. And if anything, like you're doing it to have fun anyways.
Well, I kind of do everything like that.
I mean, not everything in life is going to be fun, but I definitely do agree that you made it okay to go out there and try things and make mistakes.
And just have fun. Laugh at yourself. Yeah. Okay. So that's what I think you should teach children is it's okay to not be perfect because there is no such thing. And if there was a perfect person, they'd be the most boring one in the room. Guaranteed.
Okay, next question. Jessica from the United States. Hi, my 3-year-old screams for what seems like forever when we don't feed him what he wants. For example, he was made a ham and cheese sandwich and strawberries, which are both things he likes, but is screaming because I said he couldn't have a banana until he finished the food given. I'm trying to ride out the tantrum, but my ears and heart are breaking.
Your heart's breaking? Oh, I would find my patience breaking more than my heart. Yeah, what I would say, he's 3 years old, but he's not 1.5. I would have the banana sitting right beside me, and I would say, as soon as you finish the strawberry, as soon as you finish whatever he's eating in front of him, then you can have this. I don't tend to say the word no very often. I just say, oh, sure, you can have it as soon as you finish that, and then I let him scream. If he keeps screaming, I'd say, okay, no banana then? He's 3. The fact that he's doing that says to me that you must give in. There must be a reason he's doing that. He must know if he screams hard enough that you're going to give in. By the way, this is kind of psychological here, but their crying and screaming is not as emotionally destroying as it would be if we did that. Imagine if an adult was crying and screaming at that level. It would be emotionally destroying to us, wouldn't it? Because we don't do that very often. We have more control over our emotions, basically. He's still coming out of babyhood. They're still used to crying. They cry to get whatever they need. That's how a baby communicates. So it's not as emotionally destroying to him as it is to you, that you think it is to him. So yeah, he's putting on quite a show for you. And I'm assuming you must give in. Otherwise, he wouldn't do it. Not at 3.
But just note, not a nutritionist, not a...
Oh, well, I don't know anything about diet. We're not talking about that. And you already said these are things he likes. He likes ham and cheese sandwiches and he likes strawberries. You're not trying to feed him liver and onions first. See what I'm saying? Like, unless he loves them. So you know it's something he will eat. He just wants the banana first. Now, if you gave him the banana first, he probably wouldn't eat the others. I'm assuming that's why you're holding it. I don't know.
I just want to make that note, though, because I know there's a lot of
nutritionists and diet. That's not my wheelhouse. I don't know nothing about it. I mean, I know as much as anyone probably. You know what I'm saying. It's not my wheelhouse.
Okay. Next question is Katya from United States. My daughter is 7.5. She does not want to go to school. She wants to stay home with me and her little brother. She says she misses me at school. These are days I had to pick her up. There are days that I had to pick her up, put her in the car, and bring her in. Last week, she was wearing pajamas because she refused to change. Today, no shoes and socks. I made sure I put clothing or appropriate attire in her backpack to change, but it's so draining, I don't know what else to do. I feel like I'm scarring her by dragging her in screaming and crying. What would you do?
I can't answer that. That would be coaching. I don't know what's going on with her. I don't know. I can't answer that. Could be a million different reasons for that. Too many. And I don't even want to guess. Because you might go down that path and I might be wrong. Maybe something happened. Was she being bullied? Did something happen at school? Or she just got you wrapped around her little finger that she knows if she puts up a big fuss, she gets to stay home. I don't know. It could be either or something in between. So I can't answer that.
And the last one is Thames from Australia. I manage my 2-year-old daughter's tantrums as you have advised, but during the latter part of the tantrum, my husband jumps in and gives her a hug to try and settle her. Would this ruin the system?
Absolutely 100% ruin it. Yep. He's tanking it. Why would he do that? Yeah. Let him listen to this. You're doing it wrong, Dad. You're messing up what Mom's doing well. You're messing it up. Don't undermine Mom. Let her take charge. Let the tantrum run its pace. They got to get themselves out of it. It's not up to you. Any attention is tantrum food. You'll just get more tantrums by doing it your way. You're feeding it.
Okay. I do want to make one final note. At the very beginning of the episode, you seemed very dissatisfied with the topic, but we did get a comment on YouTube that I would like to bring up now. It says, I have to point out this pattern because it's now cracking me up. Invariably, Lisa will, number 1, say she doesn't like the subject. Number 2, claim it's because she doesn't have too much to say. But number 3, proceed to do a whole show about it.
Anyone who knows me by now knows I'm kind of full of crap. I always say the wrong thing, don't I? Why is that?
You don't always say the wrong thing.
No, but I always say, oh, I hate that. And then like my son used to say, he says, if my mom ever says she hates something, just offer it to her. She'll try it and go, I love this. Like I don't know what's wrong with me.
You're this very interesting combination because you're incredibly open-minded, but you're incredibly black and white.
Black and white, exactly. But I hate that. I love that. Mom, if you try it, you might like it. Oh, I do like it. I love it. Like, I'm just so impressionable. I change very quickly. So I'm very black and white, but I'm also extremely pliable. So can you figure that one out? I have no stubborn bone in my body. I don't dig my heels in ever, ever. I'll say, I absolutely hate that. I would never do it in a million years. Mom, give it a go. Okay. Go figure that one out. But yeah, it's very true. So yes, I do. I say, oh, I got nothing to say about that. And then I go on for an hour. Yeah, I know. Absolutely 100% right. Do we want to wrap it up now? Okay. Thanks so much for listening as usual. I did get a little bit heated in this one, but we'll see how that goes over, and we'll try and curb me if that's not appreciated.
Let us know.
Let us know. I mean, if you want me to get heated, I often do behind the scenes. I get very heated about things. It's usually what's being done out there in parenting. It's the stuff that's being passed around that just drives me freaking insane.
So basically, if you want me to like clip a little lapel mic on her while she's going off behind the scenes and we just do a whole podcast on that, let me know.
Yeah, I'm feeling it now. I'm starting to get edgy. That's why I say with the business, I really want to get out there and be challenged more. And because I really do want to make a difference. I understand kids. I just do. I just get it. And I'm only telling you I'm only telling you what's best for your kids, and eventually will be best for you too. So I know a lot of my methods are hard to do, like anything, right? It's hard to change, but I want the best for you. And I don't just want you to raise nice kids or good kids. I want you to enjoy them. I want you to have fun parenting like I did. I thought it was a blast. It was the most fun I ever had. People used to say, Lisa, because I loved being around kids. I was working with kids for a couple decades before I had them. And people used to say, Lisa, it's nothing like you think it's going to be. It's so much harder. It was 100 times better than I ever thought it was going to be. I wallowed in it. I got that pesky discipline cemented, my leadership cemented, and then I just relaxed and had fun with kids. That's what I want for all of you. I want you to enjoy parenting. Doesn't that sound good? Anyway, okay, thanks so much for listening. From Lisa and Amy, we'll talk again next time. Bye now.
Thanks for tuning in. If you're ready to dive deeper, check out bratbusters.com to learn more about the Behavior Board, parenting courses, and private one-on-one coaching with Lisa. If you've enjoyed the show so far, we'd love it if you could take a moment to follow, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback helps us reach more parents just like you. The information provided in this podcast is for general informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for professional advice. Lisa is a parenting coach, mom, and grandmother. She is not a licensed psychologist or counselor. Her services do not replace the care of psychologists or other healthcare professionals. For a full disclaimer, please visit bratbusters.com/disclaimer.